Good day, dear friends. Good day, good day, good day, and happy Christmas Eve to you and to your family. And if you don't have a family, happy Christmas Eve to you. If you're not Christian, it doesn't matter. It's an expression. Happy today to you. If you're a lapsed Christian, happy Christmas Eve. We use expressions. Saturday and others refer to things. Don't let religion get you down. Don't let it focus. It's the thought. It's what we call things. If the truth be known, and I'm sure you've been through this, when we go through the history of what is Christian and what is basically borrowed from various pagans, and you could argue that point. I think sometimes people like Bill Maher and others, and Sam Harris and Dennett and Hitchens and Dawkins and others, they have such an enmity, a hatred for people who enjoy religion and who feel good from this. Religion to me is like watching people enjoy music. It's like watching kids dance. It's like watching people enjoy their ancestral music. It's wonderful. It doesn't in any way pose any threat to me whatsoever. I'm not out trying to always, well, that's not true, or that's true. Well, that's really technically that's not. Well, that's not Christian. That's pagan. I don't know why people do that. I think people do it sometimes out of jealousy. I'm going to be speaking a lot. By the way, Mrs. L, tonight, we're going to be having our year-end Christmas. We're going to put on our traditional, silly, custom-made PJs, pajamas, depending upon where you're from, that are adorned and festooned with Santa Claus, whatever. And it's going to be a veritable love fest. So that's tonight. So make sure you're appointed there. I want to say a very important word about Santa Claus. And I want to explain something about this thing called the human condition. And if you took a child, we had 3 children, let's say. The first child, you fed, you watered, you made sure there was always some kind of sustenance. But you never showed it love, never spoke to it. It kind of lived in a room by itself, but it never starved. It was never physically abused, but it was never, ever provided with communication and thought. You would see such a deficit. The child would on its own come up with the notion of language. Let me say this again. Human beings have language. We have language. Do you hear what I'm saying? Your dog does not. Your dog communicates with you. It's not language. Your dog does not have past tense, weird cases, pluralization. Your dog does not greet you with a barking recollection of what happened before when you weren't here. This is what happened. No. But the dog can mouth and make noise and vocalize and everything I said. But humans would. So anyway, so this baby, if left alone, would come up with its own language. And if lucky enough to be with a twin, they would come up with their own sounds and nouns, and they would go like this, and it's the way we humans are. Now, the second group would be, okay, eats, whatever. But parents talk to it. It has siblings. And there's love. There's love. And the child is, for the most part, left to play and left to imagine and toys and guns and cops and robbers and all that kind of stuff. Mom playing baby and mommy and house and all that. Kind of the way most Americans feel. Most parents are good people. They don't mean they're just good. They don't necessarily inject and overwhelm you with an environment of creativity, but nonetheless, they love you. They feed you. They don't hurt you. Everything is groovy. Everything is fine. Okay. Now, the third level. Now, this is the most important. This is where you have sustenance, communication, education, familial, love, social, interpersonal. But then we get into something that is considered to be special. And it's this awareness of, oh, I get it. I get it. For example, sometimes there are so many wonderful people of you, and I see what you write, and I say, oh, look at this. And you write wonderful things because I don't get to see everybody most people who are watching this are driving in the car. Maybe a day later, they don't see any of the interplay. They don't see any of the live communications, nor do they care to see it. I always try to present these particular pieces as independent of individuals who are writing or who are participating, because that is a terrible distraction that plays to one crowd but not the other. It's like an inside job kind of a thing, so to speak. People listening to this later on don't understand why that's important. Anyway, make a long story short. But when you hit a level of absolute, as close to not perfection, but as close to development, and nobody ever talks about this. I know people who worry about their face and their weight and their athleticism, and they do all that stuff, but they never think about it. The third level of development is number one, the autodidact, self-taught. That has a bad rap. Autodidact, self-taught means almost you don't have any real formalized education. You're kind of like a hillbilly, kind of corn pone, so to speak. You know what I mean? You're just kind of whatever. And you're not as kind of gifted as no. The highest level is for you to understand. I want to understand more. For example, who are these people writing now? As I speak to you, who are people who represent not only not only the actual YouTube representation, but who are the individuals who write this? What is a YouTuber compared to a Rumble person, compared to a bit shooter, compared to by the way, hidden videos, Alex Jones's thing versus a Vimeo or whatever it is. Never mind. Who are people who love to repeat and replicate the message? Who? I know people who have this thing where they repeat stuff. They are the best automatons in the world. The other day at a Christmas party, somebody said, well, it's very important that we always that we, and by the way, this may be kind of the lawyer in me, so I'm just going to throw this up. It's important that we understand Israel. I said, absolutely. And I'm talking to a Jewish woman. I said, have you ever been to Israel? No. I said, I've been twice. I said, it's beautiful. She's never been to Israel. I don't know about you, but if I lived and breathed and was somehow connected, and this woman's got her home in Cabo, her home in the Catskills, her home on the east side, her home over here, and she is this, all of a sudden, this proud Jew. We used to say Jewess. You know what I mean? But and anyway, but this Jewess. She's a proud Jewess. I said, you've never been to Israel? This is it. Now, if you're a Roman Catholic, I don't think you necessarily have to go to Rome. And I think my good friend Eric Thaddeus would you don't have to necessarily go. Roman Catholic is kind of an expression. St. Peter, later on, that was Mussolini who helped with that Vatican whole thing. But you've been to Bethlehem? You've never been there? Jerusalem? And already I said, wow. So already she's lecturing me about Israel. And I know exactly what I said. You've never been? I said, I've been twice. I said, it's really something. I said, it is really something. You really have to go there. And you have to see for yourself, and you'll feel this. Let me give you a little story about not only Israel, but that part of the world. Do you know that here in New York, we have places you can drive in up, in New York State or Jersey or whatever, and you can say some township, Washington Township, founded 1690. Is like, wow, this little town, this place, yep, founded 1700. Wow, if you like cemeteries like I do, you can go and you can see cemeteries that have been around for, oh my God, forever. Hundreds and hundreds of years of this. These are sometimes 1600. Sometimes you can't even read. You can't read the emblazoned piece. Okay, so that's pretty big. Somebody told me this in Israel. If you're digging and you hit something that's 500 years old, 500. So you're digging a pipe or digging a tap. It's 500 years old. Don't even bother calling anybody. Just, keep going. After that, you got to call the antiquities people. They got to come. They got to check. They've got things thousands of years old. I remember walking down this, I don't know what it was. Not catacombs, it's the wrong word, but this underground area. And we're walking. And and somebody says, smell that? Smell this? These are the Romans. Smell that? These are the Babylonians. Smell that? This is the Phoenicians. Smell that? And I'm smelling molecules of scent that where nobody's been for thousands and thousands of years. Think about this. This is pre-Caesar. We're just going to just look. It's right there. And there's one there, one there, one there, one there. Just look what the notion of antiquity does. Look what age. Look what numbers mean. And then forget that. Go to Egypt. When Egypt, who was it? What was somebody told me? When Julius Caesar was pronouncing whatever it was, Egypt was already 4,000 years old. I mean, it's just like, wow. So I'm talking to this woman, made up, face pulled, artificial skin so stretched and thin you can almost see the varicosity neath this. And here she is lecturing me about Judaism because she's a Jew, and you've never been to Israel. There's no interest in it, but she wants to talk about it. That's what Americans are, especially. She says, don't you understand? Israel's the only democracy in the Middle East. I said, they don't have elections? What? I said, well, how do you define democracy? Oh, it's true. I mean, they've got, put it this way. I can show you things that are being said in Israel that if it were any other country, the people would be arrested. That's true. They've got a very robust sense of political argumentation. I said, but what do you mean by that? There are no other elections? I said, what does that mean? What about Turkey? Not really Middle East. But I said, but does Erdogan allow anything at all? Anything? Well, it sounded like China. I said, do you know what they say in China? I said, are you familiar with this? I said, have you seen what is being said in China? China dissidents? You can't go too far. I said, do you know what you're talking about? Or are you repeating what you're hearing? How many people have heard this? America may not be perfect, but it's the best country in the world. How many people here, dear friends, believe that America is the greatest country in the world? How many do you believe? How many do you truly believe that America is the best country in the world? How many do you? Please tell me no. Yes or no. Do you believe America is the best country in the world? The best. The best. The best. Nothing. This can't be replicated. It's not even close to being replicated. Anybody? 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 Do you really believe America is the greatest country in the world? And by the way, how many countries have you been to? America is the greatest country in the world? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. That doesn't mean you don't love a country. Do you believe each of your children are the most talented in the world? The best, the most well behaved, the most talented, the most productive, the smartest of anybody in the world? Do you believe that? No. What kind of a parent are you? What kind of a parent are you? Don't you believe your children are the best children? By the way, I need 300 likes, by the way. Thank you very much. Do you? Of course not. Only a fool would say, if you think America is the greatest country in the world, you don't know history. You don't know anything about our history. It is now. You mean America or Americans? Oh, America? The country? Oh, I do this thing every day. I've told you about this. It's a private channel. And in my private channel, I do three things. First of all, I love putting together for you news that even YouTube or X will not allow me to post. It is absolutely sometimes ghastly. Ghastly. And I love to I was listening. Who has Telegram? Anybody? Anybody? You want to see another world? Watch Telegram. You will not. You will if you think you want. You know what's going on in Israel? Watch Telegram. You can't believe what's going on. Do you ever watch RT or I don't even have the Pravda or TASS or CCTV? Do you have France 24? Do you have what is the Fabian Society? Do you ever read really leftist stuff? Do you ever listen to real No, you don't. You don't do this. You do not do this. But anyway, one of the things that we do, what makes America great, is our music. And every day, I put something up the other day, and I said, "Here's Bobby Blue Bland, Bobby Rush, and Johnny Taylor singing some blues things." These were three guys, three older. I guess they're all dead now. Three singing a style you cannot hear this today, because for all practical purposes, today's cadre, and please forgive me. Today's new iteration of music, which, by the way, I'm never going to sound, is so alien to me. I have no interest in this whatsoever. The real development, the sound of the blues man, the soul man, the Lou Rawls, the Bobby Blue Bland, the Albert Kings. I mean, just anyway. But listen to this. Now, I defy you to find this music anywhere in the world. American music, nobody is better than we are. Nobody. You can listen to some music. I'm not going to point which one, but I can say, let's just say for the sake of argument, Indian, Indian, Middle Eastern, Spanish, flamenco, Indian. Got it. The best is salsa, merengue. Got it. Got it. Got it. And I'm not trying to. I'm not saying it's not complicated. I'm just saying got it. Got it. Got it. Got it. Now let me play some Art Tatum for you, and then I'm going to play Bobby Blue Bland. And then we're going to get into John Philip Sousa. We're going to do marches. We play ragtime. Then we're going to get into real pre-Bill Monroe bluegrass, Jimmy Rogers country, then Pat Metheny, then little Johnny Mercer, then oh my God. So as far as music goes, no. And every day in this thing that I do in this piece, and there's a link for it. I always say I want you to hear this music. And I listen to music. It's the most beautiful thing that humans do. I have these. There were these three. I think they were Georgian sisters. They look. If they didn't have any headgear on, they would look like you would think. Well, they're just. They look like regular. Americans like they could be in Cincinnati, but they're singing this thing. It's not American, obviously, because it's Soviet Georgia. How many of you have heard of Mongolian throat chants? Tell me that is not the greatest thing. Now, I can't do this all the time. I don't hear a lot of throat chanting for long periods of time because I'm not really that into it. But through my iteration and my view, I open my mind and open my heart and open my soul and open my awareness, and I want to know everything. And the thing that I will not be a part of is I will not be a part of cliche. And I'm not going to sit around with people who sit there who don't know anything about the Israel Palestinian problem and lecture to me because they're Jewish and they've never been to Israel and they're repeating Tammy Bruce nonsense on this stuff. Or this I never realized this Douglas, what's his name? Not Murray or whoever he is, this Pierce, this shill, this guy's trying to figure out my numbers are going up. And I'm going to double down against, whatever it is. I want you to understand everything. I want you to understand nuance. I want you to understand brutality. I don't want you to ever repeat yourself because you are trying to fit into a world where you say America is the greatest country in the world, because it's not. It's not. First of all, you haven't been to other countries in the world. You haven't been. You've never been. Number two, you haven't given me a parameter. You haven't said, well, by virtue of what? What exactly do you mean is the best country in the world? What do you mean? What about it? Can't answer that. Can't answer the question. What do you mean by that? Don't ever be Fox News. Don't ever be cliche. Don't ever be Pateller. Don't do that. Be realistic. When you are free, when you are completely, when you lose the shackles of, I know people, give me an example, who think that they are the deepest of thinkers because of the fact that they always say the same thing. For example, don't you understand that there is a cadre, a cabal, a consortium, a convocation of elites who control the world? And these evil partisans together actually represent a group of people who blah, 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 and they represent the consistent and the cadre of this. And don't you understand this? And these are the problems. And they sit there and they will rank and they will yell and they will scream and they're doing everything in their power to tell you, look at what I know. Look at what I know. Don't you understand this? That the incessant, the initial, the interstitial connectivity of our supposed democracy, which in fact is the constitutional republic, is based upon a vile whatever. I say, what are you talking about? What am I supposed to do with this? I don't know. I want you to know how smart I am. I'll give you another one too. There are people I know who all they want to do is talk to you about. Don't you understand that that caste lead Cast lead. If I hear cast lead, the first intifada, I said, what are we talking? We're talking about something that's happening right now. How do we fix this? I don't know, but I want you to know that I know about cast lead. And I want you to understand that prior to, and they think Zionism is the worst curse, that prior to Herzl and the Nakba, there were 700,000 people were basically forced to flee in the occupation versus annexation. And they keep repeating this over and 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 over again. Douglas, I think is it Douglas Murray, and then who was it? Jenk and others. A fellow who is I'm very absolutely spot on in some respects is what is happening now. Is Max Blumenthal. He'll talk about, well, this is what's happening now. I saw something the other day that was the most incredible thing in the world. It was, of all people, it was Norman Finkelstein, who, by the way, is very difficult to listen to. He looks angry, the delivery, but if you put all that aside, he was on with Crystal Ball on Breaking Points or whatever it was. And they were talking about the thing that Dershowitz said was in 93, 97, 98, 97, 92, 2001, 2002, 2002, and he went to this, and Palestine basically rejected all of this stuff. Okay. So Norman Finkelstein, or Stein, I don't know which one it is, says, now, Crystal, would you please read for you? I don't want to read it. Let's talk about the first allegation that that Palestine rejected. It was 90. Would you read this, please? Yes. This is resolution number. Would you please read the results of yes. The world 750, the UN with 4 objections. US, America, Israel, Micronesia, and the island of, that's it. 1990, would you please read? And he went through each one of them and said, wait a minute. Nobody voted for this. What do you mean? What I was told this because people they know Bill Maher is not going to say, wait a minute. I'm going to take what you're saying and I'm going to go and and by the way, I never talk about the history of Israel or whatever because it's not my thing. I'm not going to get caught into. I'm not going to discuss Middle Eastern history with Middle Eastern scholars. Bill Maher does because he's Bill Maher because he can do anything. He's Bill Maher. He's so cool. He knows you want to be Bill Maher. And it's the most amazing thing I've ever heard in my life. And you'll never hear anything. But yet Finkelstein, and according to this Douglas Murray or whatever, calls him a psychopath. They've got to vilify this guy. This guy was MIA for the longest time, and now he's like a herpes virus that dares to rear its ugly head. And they have got to quash this guy because he's picking up steam. And dear God, they don't. That's the first one I want to listen to. It's like, excuse me, go after him. Tell me where he's wrong. I want to say thank you so much for this man. He has been with us since the beginning. He is a master of erudition, one of the best English writers I've seen, bar none. And I say that around no one. No one writes. I have another friend of mine who's very good at this, who's a great writer. And Eric says, thank you for your apologia pro philologia. Logic, learning how to think rationally. Grammar, communicating said reason via language. Rhetoric, doing so engagingly. No ether lips. I love this. Logic, rhetoric. Thank you for this. Eric, I was a psychology major. And unlike what most people think, our particular curriculum was heavy into experimental. There's clinical, experimental, and industrial industrial organizational. Those are the three basic schools, if you will. When people think psychology, they think of Freud, they think of Jung. That plays such an insignificant role in this. I'm more into the cognition part of that. I'm more into what makes people think. And the idea of logic, this all we used to say this, all grandfathers are men, but not all men are grandfathers. You ever heard it? You ever explained it to somebody? Can you explain it to somebody? Yes, you can. Of course you can. Of course you can. John Jelaine says, who is Ursula von der Leyen? Well, it's an interesting question. But by the way, who voted her in? And why is she running the show? Now, when you say this, I think you're being kind of rhetorical. I think you're being. She's a president of the EU, by the way. She's my age. She's a baby of. I think she's born in '65. Was she 60? Was it she's a, yep. She's a 65er. And when was she born? Interesting. It's funny. My year. It's a long October. So I'm a little older than she is. And you can ask. She really has no jurisdiction on us yet. But thank you, by the way, John. I appreciate that. I appreciate that immensely. But let me go through this whole thing about this. When you see a little baby and you see a child, that is the greatest tabernacle. Kids, as they are growing, are my laboratory. My laboratory. I think they are the greatest thing in the world because you realize this. And you, if you were to say, all babies are kids, but not all kids are babies, and kids. And did you ever see the way a kid goes like this? Have you ever seen that? There is nothing more beautiful than to see a kid, a child, a baby listen to what you're saying. Isn't that beautiful? Isn't that beautiful? Just to see the thing. Now, as far as Eric, as far as explaining grammar, forget it. Grammar means nothing. Grammar is people just don't care about it. I'm constantly. I can spend time. Is it the grammatist does this? People who drive within people who drive. Let me stop for 1 second. I've gone too. I jumped into this thing so fast and so quickly. I want to make sure I spend every time I get the chance to speak to you, to telling you that how much I always love our dear friends at My Pillow, and how much I appreciate them, and how I just want him. It means a lot to me because I've always been one for the little guy, the underdog, and certainly he's not an underdog in terms of the power of his product, but what they've done to him is something that I absolutely despise. Please use promo code Lionel. Go to mypillow.com and listen to this word. Let me tell you about my great friends at mypillow.com. Mypillow.com. And by the way, use promo code Lionel. Use promo code Lionel and receive a free gift. No purchase necessary. And yes, I realize that gifts are free. It's a tautology. Get over it. Sue me. So what are we talking about? How about Giza Dream bed sheets, My Pillow 2.0, sheets, slippers, percales, towels, quilts, bedspreads, mattresses, mattress covers, mattress toppers, linens, kitchen towels, bathrobes, name it. Items to luxuriate and relax. And don't forget, Christmas is just around the corner. And yes, it makes a great stocking stuffer, and it's fine for dad or grad. Made by the greatest company from the greatest people in the greatest country. Or call 800-645-4965 if you're OG, and see how quickly Mike Lindell answers the phone. 800-645-4965. But don't forget, only use promo code Lionel. That's mypillow.com. Promo code Lionel. Mypillow.com. Promo code Lionel. Indeed. Indeed. By the way, this Hmong still here, but do not feel this sense of febrility. Do not feel this way. As I was explaining to try to explain to folks the notion of logic in this country, my question to you is, what matters to you the most? I'm asking you as a child, what matters to you? Let's say politics. 2024 is going to be a disastrous year in terms of what you are not going to be receiving, because it's not your fault, but we were gobsmacked and thrown off course in 2023, and you're not going to feel that until 2024. This year is going to be 2024 is going to be like being kicked in the nuts. Men, you know this. When you're kicked right in the gods, you feel the pain first. You feel not the pain. You feel the pressure, the contact, the awareness hits you, and then, most important, then you feel the pain. So you're going to feel what's going on, and you don't feel things right away. So as I was saying to my dear friend, this Israeli woman who's trying to warn me and this and that, I'm saying, you're going to be feeling things this year that have been taking place for a very long time, which you have convinced yourself has no basis whatsoever, and the Palestinians better just learn to live with it, shut up, because I'm right, they're wrong, and I don't want to hear the end of it. And you've been lucky because nothing really has happened, at least at this stage. And we have been lucky because everything that's been happening this particular year, we've not known it. It has not turned into pain yet. And I'm not talking economic. I'm talking about the way the future of the country is being shifted. The most frightening thing that is happening that people will never, ever, ever even remotely concern themselves with is the notion of artificial general intelligence, which even, and this is the best part, even the folks who fancy themselves to be the most religious of people in the world, they don't understand the existential threat that this poses. They do not understand that up until now, this is the most important. Everything that we have developed, we have controlled. We had steam engines and then fuel combustion, but they had brakes and they had speedometers and they had accelerators and there were bombs, but there was a pin. There were bombs, but I mean, there could be a chain reaction or something. But for the most part, all development was something, for example, that we can develop ourselves. And a child would understand this. If I said, now imagine I created something. And I created this thing, this gizmo, this widget, this device, whatever you want to call it. But what's different about this one, I taught it how to create itself. It's called recursive self-improvement. And it will be able to replicate and create itself. So then it creates another one. And you come back to your workbench one day and you got two of them. And you say, well, that's pretty neat. Well, okay. Then you come back the next day, you got 10 of them. Now you're saying, no, wait a minute, hold it. First of all, I don't want these things to be mass produced because it's going to lose. Obviously, it's going to cause kind of a product inflation, and I'm going to lose the ability to sell these things. So consequently, I want to make sure that that this thing stops. Because, by the way, I need 300 likes, by the way. I need 300 likes. I'm telling you. Telling you. 300 likes. I need your help. So somebody says, Jerry, what? Stop this. One of your business partners says, stop this. What do you mean stop it? No, stop it. Now we have 50. 50, there's only 10. No, I got the other 40 in the back. This is our thing. What are you doing? What are you doing this? I don't understand this. I don't know how to try. I don't know. Turn this off. Turn this off. I can't. What do you mean you can't? I can't. It doesn't have a button. We just got 20 more in the back. I don't know. Who's making this? I don't know. What do you mean you don't know? I don't know. Well, let's take, if we could take all of these here, grab them all. Let's throw them in the incinerator. And they're all gone. They're all burned. They're all destroyed. And somebody says, our other store called, they just got 300 of them. Wait a minute. 300 of these? Yes. How did it get this? It just does. They're created. They're creating themselves. That's going to be AGI. Raul says, Feliz Navidad. Feliz Navidad. Prospero año y felicidad. I want to wish you a Merry Christmas. Raul, thank you, my friend. Muchísimas gracias. De nalgas. Hasta los huevos. I may be wrong, but you're more wronger. Those West Tampa puns kill them every time. Thank you for that. Think about this. This is the most important thing in the world. Make this stop. I don't know. Let me just stop right there. And somebody says, where is this? I don't know where it is. We're used to this. Here's a calculator, right? This is a little calculator. Here it is. If I break it, that's it. I can turn it on or off. This is one of these. Do you remember when these things, I remember one time a friend of mine bought a four function calculator for like $300. It was like real big, you know. And now this is you never need batteries. It's kind of solar supplies. Well, I can turn it off, kind of, sort of. This you can't turn off. Nobody's talking about that. Eric says, ancient Egypt devolved into hieroglyphics, which led to mass illiteracy and manipulation by a kleptocratic oligarchy. Think emojis and deep state. You know, that is a fascinating, interesting. Hieroglyphics, a devolution, a slipping back. You know, it's funny. I had never thought about that until this very moment. I had never thought about the notion of that if you dematerialize, how do we say this? If you basically deconstruct, I should say, a language form, the more complex the language, the more complicated the group of people. And then by reversing it, you infantilize a group of people. What do you think, Eric, about a country, a culture that has 4 or 5 different verbs for love, let's say? How about the Germans who don't even have names like I love, you know, Weltschmerz and Sitzfleisch and Witzelsucht and Schadenfreude, you know, feeling a sense of delight in seeing the suffering of others. These complex Americans would say, I love you. Germans would say, I love you because others can't have you, but I can. I mean, it's like, oh my God. Last night I was watching one of the greatest, this is the greatest military psyops ever. It's season 2 of Jack Reacher. Anybody watch that? The new Jack Reacher? I would love love to have you in a room. We'll watch the first episode. Let me lead the Socratic analysis. Say, what do you notice about this? Jack Reacher. Anybody watch it? Please watch it. It's this new guy. I don't know what his name was. Tom Cruise was Jack Reacher, but he was a smaller, he's like my size. It's just I'm not Jack Reacher. That's what really went on. This guy's 6'3", 6'5", whatever it is, and absolutely just he can't get any bigger and taught. And I'm changing the subject just a little bit. Anybody watch this? Dan's watching it. Please watch it. Is Jack Reacher predictive programming? No. It's a military. It's a psyop. Basically, is what it is. All predictive? No. It's not. No, that's not it. What do you think Jack Reacher's about? Jack Reacher, of course, gave us that great line. Remember, you asked for this. Which, by the way, I don't want to bring up any Middle Eastern catastrophes, but one could bring this up. Okay. Evelyn watches it. Yes, he's great. Jack Reacher around. That's funny. Now, here's what's interesting about it. Number one, Jack Reacher is an absolute. He's not even a normal man. He is not a. He's not a. He's not a. He's certainly binary. Certainly binary. Jen Madison says, no, watch the first. This is second season. Watch the first. He is a uber mensch. Uber. It's almost like a Nietzschean. He is, for this Dylan Ranigan, Dylan Mulvaney, sissified, pardon my French, kind of a non-binary, weird kind of. This guy is so hyper male, it's not even funny. He makes Joe Rogan look like Paul Lynde, okay? Or Charles Nelson Riley. He can't get more male than this. Barry Taylor says, I've heard it said YouTube is valued at $160 billion. If I had it to spare, I would buy it just to tone down the censorship. Well, my friends, many people would encourage you forthright. And thank you for that, Barry. He's the lone stranger. He is the modern day version of Clint Eastwood. Josie Wales, Few Dollars More, Good, Bad, and the Ugly, the Johnny Reno, the lone gun, the guy who travels, the Rambler, ex-military. There's the psyop part. He has a group of people. He has no overtly gay anybody in there. It is not this usual. It's like they always have this They always have this. Okay, here we go. Here's this. Remember the first time you said, "Hey, here's Claudine Gay." Oh, what? No, nothing. No, I just. What? No, I just. What? Well, I just. The hair and everything. And, gay. She's married. What? She's married. She's married. Why does she look like that? I don't know. There is a woman who is, I'm not going to mention it's kind of like an instruction. Does a great job explaining how to use this, how to use that. And she's got the typical, kind of like one of that Natalie Maines. I don't know not Natalie. By the way, sad about that Lynch from the original Dixie Chicks. Very sad. Anyway, This woman looks, you say, well, we used to call it lesbian. Now it's non-binary or something. And I swear to God, I don't lose any sleep over it. I don't care. Let's say, okay, whatever. If somebody's good, great. Anyway, I happen to catch her Instagram account. She's married. She's got kids. I'm thinking, why do you look like this? I know it's. I know it's. That sounds so terrible. I say, why do you go out of your way to dress like somebody would who is not non-binary or whatever? Those days are over. Jack Reacher is binary. I'm a man, and I don't do a lot of cursing, and I'm not violent, but I will f you up. I will stick when he gets into like prison fights, thumbs in the eyes, breaks. He's a Luthez hooker, snaps ankles. Some serious. By the way, some great violence is the new is the Equalizer with Denzel Washington when he shoots through his head. I mean, great stuff. I'm sorry. I love gratuitous violence. Loved it all my life. I'm nonviolent. Don't want to shoot anybody, but I love when somebody says, uh-oh, here we go. And Jack Reacher is violent. Just don't push him. There's one scene, he's always trying to help people out. There's one scene, you'll see it at the ATM, and you'll see it online. You can see it. Woman's getting money out of an ATM machine. She's being hijacked. And he notices everything. Wait a minute, ma'am. Is that your car? Don't turn around. Is that your car behind you? Yes. Are you being hijacked, carjacked? Yes. Do you have a child now, about 5 years old, named Mandy? How do you know that? Simple. You're wearing white sneakers, and it's Tuesday. And he makes these, I don't know how he does this. You're left-handed, but you're using your right hand because it's been hurt in an accident caused by an ex-boyfriend who was in the Navy, but actually the Merchant Marine because he couldn't qualify for the Seabees. What? He just makes this, I don't know. He says, stay here. I'll be right from. And he goes back and he gets this poor guy who's holding this kid with a gun. All right, kid, your mother better shut up and give me the money or I'm going to blow you away. And here comes Jack Reacher. Here he comes through that kind of portrait lens where you see this foggy. And he basically pulls the guy through. I mean, it's just wonderful. And he tells the woman, no problem. Here, give this to the police. Always doing good. Super male, hyper male, law and order, kind of helps the police but doesn't trust the police, and ex-military. There's the connection. And it's all of these strong. If there's a black person there, great. It's not gratuitous. If there's a black person there, the person doesn't talk about being African American. No, it's just like a black person. By the way, side note, a great movie is Johnny Stecchino. Remember Roberto Benigni? Johnny Stecchino. Johnny Stecchino, this is Johnny Toothpicks, plays a gangster. Roberto Benigni has his best buddy, has Down syndrome, in the movie. And they're just buddies. And he never brings up the fact that he has Down syndrome. There was a movie one time with the Jackass character was kind of sort of good, but they always referred to the fact that the kids were, this movie, I always loved it. If I had a movie, I swear to God, I would have a little person, somebody with Down syndrome, and I never bring up the fact that they have Down syndrome. It's like, why? Just talk to him. If I have a movie and I'm playing the father, and I'm going to somehow, I don't know why, we adopt a black kid, we don't bring up the fact that the kid's black. What are you bringing it up for? It's obvious. Just treat people like humans. Forget this. That's what this is. So if you see this kind of if there's a Hispanic guy or a whatever, they don't bring it up. And it's just classic American values. Big guy, Jim Arness, the rifleman. Remember these big guys? Fess Parker. Remember Clint Walker from Belleville, Illinois? Clint Walker, who played Posey. Remember Posey in Dirty Dozen? This guy was a monster. Incredible. Come on, Posey. Stick 'em, Posey. I need 300 likes. I don't know what you're not understanding about that. Maybe I stutter. I did when I was a kid. Maybe it's coming back. Maybe you don't understand me. Maybe when I say to you, hey, I really need, you know, 300 likes, maybe you're saying, I don't understand him. Eric Thaddeus Walter says, do you think that the written alphabetic language's expiration date is rather near? I've self-interested motives for your valued opinion. Writer's conundrum. No, I do not believe for a moment it is gone. However, I think that no, there will always be, dare I say, a I always want there to be. I always think there's going to be a reason for it. By the way, the other day, Vic Ramaswamy, you like this, Eric, referred to ESG, I think it was, equality, state, and government or something. He called it an acronym. It's not an acronym. And that just drove me crazy. Vic, at two, Vic, at two. Wow. Why would you say that? So no, I don't believe it's going away. Never, 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 never. But please, enough about Jack Reacher. Watch it. I think it's on Prime or whatever. Watch it. And look at yourself like, oh my God, it's coming back. All the values are coming back. This year, board games. There's a little toy store. There's a little Jersey town. I'm not gonna mention one. And there's these toy stores. And whenever we are in the neighborhood, Mrs. Allen and I always walk in if we're walking about. And they must think like, who are these people? What are they? The competition? I say, by the way, how's business? I always want whenever I'm in the store, ding ding, and I love when you open up the door and there's a bell scene in Jack Reacher, a little bell. You open up the door, ding 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 ding. How's business? Good. What's your biggest seller this year? What's big? What's new? What's big? Board games or this? How about girl stuff, boys? Yes. Yes. American Girl, 51st, whatever, right next to 51st Street, right next to Rockefeller Center. Packed. Question. Should black girls have black babies? Asian girls have Asian babies? White girls have white babies? Because I'm a big believer in dolls. Dolls, pets, kids learning how. This is the way you act. Should white babies have, I mean, it's not a rule, but I'll make it simple. Should black babies have black dolls? Does that doll have to look like it? Yes or no? Anybody? Hillbilly says sure. Sure is like, yeah. Should. Thank you, Ricky Lee. I still write in cursive. We're the last generation. Cursive is going to go bye-bye with them. You're not going to see this. Django says, no, you're saying that a black baby, a black little girl, should not have a black doll. Should not have a black doll. The doll should not look like. But what about a white? Okay. What about a white? Would you give a black doll to a white girl? Little white girl? Would you? Why is everybody so hinky about this? Why? Tell me. Here's one for you. You never see overweight dolls. You notice that? Barbie was a hyper idealized, kind of a sylph-like, thin. Should you have a doll that's fat? And would you give a fat doll to a fat kid? John Jelaine says, is ESG a cry for help for the status quo? No. ESG is an absolute. It is doctrinaire, mind control, pathology of the worst order. That's exactly what it is. Look at this. They were sold. I didn't. Children are taught skin color in school. How do you not know skin color? What's wrong with skin color? How do you how do oh cabbage patch kids were kids. You know identity. Kids knew they knew white kids, black kids, right? Asian kids. They don't attribute anything to it, but you want to get something that looks like you. What's wrong with that? What's wrong with that? People have such a hard time with this. You want this identity. You are a white person. You're black. You're Asian. It's okay. Okay. You're right-handed. You're left-handed. You're a girl. You're a boy. It's called different. What's the matter? I don't understand it. Heterogeneity. So what? You've got dark hair. You got blonde hair. You got blue eyes. You got brown eyes. You're tall. You're not. You're this. People get so bent out of shape when I don't understand it. But the best part is little girls, and this is the part that kills me. Little girls see baby. And you give a boy a doll, okay? And he'll hold it like this. Give it to a baby. Give a baby to a little girl. Why does she do that? Answer my question. Why does a little girl take a baby? Let's say you've got your little Trump doll here. Here's your little Trump doll. See that? Here's your Trump doll. Okay. This is going to be worth money. This is part of my collection. I'm not going to hit the sound out of some kind of, claim or something, even though it's Trump's name is sound. Anyway, so if you give this, or you give this, most people get upset. But if you give it to a little girl, she holds like this. Why is that? Why? Why? Ride the left-handed baseball gloves. Yes, yes, yes. Why is it? No. I'm me, you're you, he's him. No, Tony is he's he. He's he, not he's him. He's he. Him is the objective. Give it to him. Give it to him. John says, banking has time frames beyond a lifetime. They are concerned about their status quo, hence ESG. No. No. Well, no. No. But banking, of course, is going to follow the superstructure, whatever the particular edicts are, of the people who have, for the most part, commandeered Wall Street and the like. But it's not for other reasons like that. Nobody wants to go with this imitation. There are things about women being mothers. There are inherent biological, evolutionary, atavistic things yet to develop, hardwired within the kernel, within the psyche of a little girl. And when you give a little girl something, that little girl goes into mommy, and you don't even know why. It's not because you told the kid. Boy saw that. Boy doesn't go into mommy. Give boys bricks. Boys love blocks. They love to stack them up like this, right? Give girls blocks. They spread them out. Spread them out. Family. Girls and boys are different. Girls and boys are different. There are things that are in us. And if you believe in Almighty God and Jesus, God said, I'm going to pick you to be the bearer of my species. You, world, distaff, D-I-S-T-A-F-F, Eric knows this, the female contingent of this, the distaff part of the moiety, Eric, the moiety, per tu et non per moi, for the whole and not the moiety, which is tendency by the entireties for those Latin legal scholars. Only husband and wives can hold tendency by the entireties. In any event, it says, God says, you are going to be given the uterus. You are going to be given the vagina, the vagina, the sheath, the birth canal, you, the uterus, you, the fallopian tubes. And men, you will have the homologous remnants. You will have testes, and you will have the part of the woman's pudenda that fuse to form the midline or the labia. In a man is the bulbourethral raphe that is seen as the stitch work, that lattice work that brings the scrotal, halves, the sac, the scrotum together. There's that line down the middle called the bulbourethral raphe. This is a remnant of this. Men have nipples. You are your mutant women. I made you the peahen, not the peacock. The female cat, the female dog, the female horse, you call it whatever you want, a mare or this or that. And because of that, it's not enough for me just to give you that, but over evolution, I'm going to inculcate you in this weird kind of a psychic concatenation of instincts, the likes of which you never even thought possible. And there will be variations of this. I'm not saying there won't be. There will be women who, for a variety of reasons, who were born with less of that initial inherent, that core kind of internal circuitry, that default mechanism, this operating system, notwithstanding any physical external accoutrement. Otherwise, there's always room for variation. It's the minority, but it happens. There will be men who sometimes, through some kind of a mental switcheroo, might feel some kind of more of a connection with female. That's fine. But for the most part, in this beautiful Gaussian curve, that's the way it is. And this is called nature. And you can pass all the legislation you want. Ladies, you can shave your hair. You can wear RuPaul lenses. You can wear Doc Martens, corduroys, railroad belts and leather jackets, and shave your head and shave your eyebrows and do everything in your power. You can do whatever you want. I don't care. I do whatever you want. I don't care what you want to do. Do what you want. You're a woman. Yeah, no. There's always a yes, but there is the asterisk here and there. Big full circle. Jack Reacher reminds you, this is a man. People are going to ooh and ah over a man, over his what? Not his hulky musculature, his maleness. They're oohing and eyeing over his maleness. And he's very reluctant, and women throw themselves at him. And he's a male, he's a heterosexual. He never pushes himself on women. He never abuses women. But once, when you hit that tripwire, he doesn't go. He goes balls on the wall, full tilt boogie. Katie barred the door. He's off and running, and he makes no bones about it. There's a pun there somewhere. I'm not sure where. And the messages are here. This year, board games through the roof. This year, Tonka toys through the roof. This year, families are going nuts at seeing the tree. This year, a place in Brooklyn, Diker Heights, trees, families, kids. We had an Uber driver the other day. He's Bangladeshi, working extra money. He's taking his kids to Diker Heights to see the Christmas trees. And he says, my son gave me, Daddy, what is this? What is this? This candy cane. What is a candy cane? And I said, well, and Mrs. L found out candy canes were actually given to kids in churches to keep them from fidgeting or something like that. But there's this little kid, he loves it. And there's this guy from Bangladesh, he goes, my kids love Santa Claus. And I said, because he's a kid. Because kids, they start to develop and they all love lights and they all love the same thing. And they love toys. And when you see a kid go, I love that. Did you ever play that? Did you ever have a bag full of toys when you were a kid? And they're imagining things in there. Oh, I love that. Not this. When they're imagining, and when you see kids, watch out. And when a kid is lost in reverie and, oh, I love that. That's great. And you can't do that with a phone. And I'm going to leave it at that. Okay? You got that? You got that, my friend? Okay. All right, my friend. Thank you. 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 John Jelaine, thank you so much for your kindness. Eric Thaddeus Walters, the Prince of Erudition, thank you. Barry Taylor, thank you, my friend. Raul Rodriguez, thank you. And please join Mrs. L and I tonight at the usual time where we will be festooned, right, honey? Festooned and adorned in our annual bespoke Christmas gear. This is the private channel. I'm going to be talking about some music. And by the way, I found out there is a Japanese kid who plays the guitar like I've never heard anybody ever play, ever. Rick Beato. I cannot believe how exponentially music is changing. Thank you for YouTube for letting me see this. The human spirit marches on. All right, dear friends, we love you. Have a great and a glorious day. Merry Christmas. We will be enjoying our little feasting throughout the day today, but 7 p.m. we will see you tonight. Dressed up, please make it a point to join us. Have a great and glorious day. We love you madly. See you then. Don't forget the monkey's dead. The show's over. Sue you. Ta-ta.